Okay, guys, I said I was going to make another video explaining CDH. Now, with Allie's YouTube channel, we are going to try to do fun stuff, but we're also going to talk about serious stuff. So, right now is a serious video. I can't talk, I'm sorry. Okay, so I talked a little bit about CDH in the last one, and we're going to go a little bit in more depth, I hope. CDH, what is it? It is called a congenital diaphragmatic hernia. And what that is it's whenever the diaphragm fails to completely form while the baby is in utero. Now, there are 3 types of CDH. One is left-sided, which is what Allie had, and is actually the most common. The second one is right-sided, and then the third one is, it's called bilateral, but it's basically in the middle. Left-sided is when there's a hole in the left side of the diaphragm. Right-sided is when there's a hole in the right side. And then bilateral is when there's a hole in the middle, or with it, there could be little to no diaphragm. Okay, what your diaphragm is the muscle that separates your chest cavity from your abdominal cavity. And in your chest cavity, you have your heart and lungs. In your abdominal cavity, you have your stomach, spleen, intestines, liver, kidneys. Now, with there being a hole in the diaphragm, I'm going to use Allie's as an example because it's a little bit easier. She had a hole on the left side. There's about 4 different stages or sizes the hole can be. I'm not quite for sure which one hers was. But I mean, it was big enough to allow her stomach, part of her intestines, her spleen, and part of her liver to move into the left side of her chest. Now, with that being said, that put pressure on her left lung while she was growing in my tummy. And it basically restricted the lung growth, which is not good. And it pushed her heart over to the right, which also resulted in putting some pressure on the right lung. Now, let's see. I'm actually going to show you this because this shows a little bit about how Allie's was. This was her stomach, intestines along with her spleen, and part of her liver. This is her left lung. It was putting pressure on it. Her heart, which should be in the middle, was pushed over to the right. And every case is different. You can't really pinpoint out how well the baby is going to do until after they are in the world. Now, while they're in utero, doctors will give you a prognosis. And at first, Allie's prognosis was good because she only had her stomach in her chest. Well, over time, literally like in 3 months' time, it went from just her stomach to her intestines to her liver. Now, the liver and kidneys are the 2 things doctors do not want to see in the chest, because that's what will make the prognosis go from good to bad pretty much. And to me, how I was explained it, there's like 3 different levels. There's good, there's the I don't know, and then there's bad. Allie was in between the bad and the I don't know. What they were telling to me is the good prognosis means 80% or more of a survival rate. Between 60 and 80 is the we don't know until, they're here. And then 60 and below is usually the bad. Allie was given about a 50-50 chance, which she actually did surprisingly well after she was born. I mean, that's just the thing. You can't pinpoint out how well these babies are going to do until they're here. Now, she was born at Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee. We actually have a little bit about her right here. We ended up having her in Nashville at Vanderbilt. And the main reason why is they thought that she might end up needing an ECMO, being on an ECMO machine. Now, what ECMO is is it basically does the work of the heart and lungs. It'll pump blood from out of the body, clean it, and back into the body, giving the heart and lungs time to rest. Now, with Allie's prognosis being in the I don't know spectrum, they wanted her to be born somewhere that had ECMO machines available, and that was the closest place to us. And luckily, she didn't need it, but whenever it comes to doing surgery, doctors usually want to do surgery between 24 and 72 hours. Sometimes that doesn't happen, simply because some babies do have to be put on ECMO. They usually want their blood gases to be good and their stats to be good enough to undergo surgery. Now, sometimes whether their stats are good or not, they have to work quickly to go ahead and do surgery and then just go from there. Allie didn't get to have hers until she was 11 days old. One reason was because of her blood gases and stats. They weren't as good as they wanted them to be. And also we had to wait for an ECMO machine to actually be available. And when one became available, her stats were actually good enough. They felt comfortable doing surgery. Luckily, she didn't need ECMO during surgery or after. And after surgery, she was still intubated and sedated a little bit. But she bounced back pretty quick. We spent almost 6 weeks in the NICU, and she's had some bumps along the way. But let's get in more about CDH versus just my child with CDH. CDH is about as common as cystic fibrosis. I'll get into that in a later video. And 1 in every 2,500 babies is born with this, or diagnosed with it, I should say. Like I said, you can't pinpoint out how well a baby is going to do, and it does require surgery. There's no way around that whatsoever. And the hard part about it is that only about 50% of these babies do survive. And that's a hard thing to discuss. Nobody wants to hear that, but it's the truth. And that's why a lot of other families who have children born with CDH, we are trying to get more awareness and funds for these babies. That way we can help the research teams try to figure out what causes this, because as of right now, no one knows. Everybody has their thoughts, but until the hardcore evidence from research tells us, we don't know. And with these babies, they can grow up to have normal lives. Allie has, for the most part. She's had some developmental delays, which is a common thing. Reflux, really bad reflux, is a common thing. Feeding issues and oral aversions is actually pretty common. We're still not for sure why. But, for a lot of us, it's just touch and go. And there's just so many other things that so many of these kids have to go through. And it's kind of just, it's bad. But CDH is a lifelong thing. Even if the diaphragm has been repaired, which it can be repaired either by sewing the diaphragm back together if there's enough, which was what happened with Allie, or a patch is placed over the hole in the diaphragm. Now with the patch, you have more of a possibility of reherniating, which any CDH kiddo can reherniate at any point in time. And really, our medical field, some places are not familiar with this at all. Like, they have no clue what CDH is, which a lot of us, we didn't know what it was until we heard the words that our child has CDH. So, here's another little diaphragm, kind of explaining more basically what I did. and then what I was just talking about. Yeah, I do believe that our medical field needs a little bit more education on this, and a lot of other birth defects. There are a lot, and I mean a lot of birth defects out there that no one knows about, and I'm learning about new ones every day because we're actually part of this thing called Tiny Superhero Squad, which is really great. You nominate your TSH, for short, for Tiny Superhero, for a cape, and you can do monthly missions, and you get to share the story of your kiddos. I mean, there's a lot on there that have autism, that have CDH, that have shoot. I mean, there's a lot of things on there. So I see a lot of new things all the time, and there's some birth defects and medical issues that aren't getting the attention that they need, just like CDH. Like, we need more awareness for all of these kids out here. But with Tiny Superheroes, her name's Robin. She's the one who does it. She makes capes for kids and does monthly missions where you can get patches to put on your capes, which is awesome. But at the same time, she's also basically raising awareness for all these kids, because everybody can share their stories if they want to. And there's something that we do, I know I've talked about it before, called Allie's Project Matters. Now, we are not an organization. We kind of haven't done the legal process of doing that. But we're basically just a family group. We do small little fundraisers here and there to try to raise awareness for CDH, but also collect money to donate to organizations like CDH International, because they do help families with babies that have CDH, and it goes towards research. And we're actually fixing to do one for the Carrie's Heart Foundation, which they help send care packages to families with sick kids in the hospital. And that's kind of just what we're doing. We are raising awareness and raising funds and raising hope is what we're doing. And hopefully one day we can be an organization. That would be great. But we are working pretty much around the clock, like just myself, with trying to just get a hold of, celebrities, people who are, up there on the food chain that can help get the word out. So, that's just what these babies need. They need more help. I mean, as a parent, I can only do so much, and sometimes my voice isn't heard. I don't blame people. I don't want to hear my voice half the time either. But regardless, that's what we're going to continue to do, is just raising awareness. If you have more questions, you can feel free to ask me. I'll try to answer the best that I can. If I can't answer, I can definitely point you in the right direction. I'll actually put a link to CDH International's website. That way you can do, I guess, a little bit more research on your own. Yeah, buddy. So we're raising awareness for Sissy. He still doesn't understand. Okay. But in the future, I'll try to do better videos about this. I don't do well with talking. But until then, what is it, buddy? I'm not going to talk now. But until then, check out CDH International. And no, they are not sponsoring this video. Neither is Carrie's Heart Foundation or any other websites that we talk about in the future. It's just us getting the word out. But until our next video, try to be a little bit kinder to each other. Try to raise awareness for people. It helps a lot. Bye.